Canal G3.
Back then tem contexto, junto com nós em estudos, de grato prazer para ter basicamente diretamente for Ucrânia, Miss Anna Surubey. Anna, welcome. Bom menino, what we say, like you say.
Доброї ночі, that's how we say it in Ukrainian.
Again, say it again.
Доброї ночі.
Доброї ночі, that means bonochi, right?
Yes, right.
Welcome in our program.
Thank you.
We're great to having you here. We'll talk about your journey, your experience, and for us to have an idea how it was before and also the relationship with Russia. To start from you're from Kyiv,
Yes,
right?
I am, from the capital.
From the capital. So you left the 25th of February,
Yes.
and the invasion was the?
The invasion for me started on the 24th of February at 6:20 around this time in the morning. For some people it started earlier because they lived in other areas. But for me it started at that time and it was...
Okay, but for us to understand, what does it mean started 6 in the morning? The noise, the weapons,
the noise.
Tanks coming in, how
Basically,
can we imagine ourselves?
Thank God we didn't have tanks in my area, nothing like this, no street fightings, nothing, but I heard the noise. So basically I was sleeping in my bed and I woke up because I heard the noise. And later on, I discovered that it was our air defense. So thank God, not a rocket or something, missile attack. And I heard that someone called my mother, and you know when someone calls you in the morning, it's always something bad,
Yes.
always. And I unlocked my phone, and I remember what I've seen. I think all Ukrainians, remember clearly that moment. I have seen that Russia attacked Ukraine. And even though we got the information before from the intelligence, right, I personally thought that, yes, maybe there is a slight chance that it will happen, but I thought that it's just too crazy because, I have my own beliefs and I think that we did nothing for the war to start. So that's why I was sure that it's not going to happen, even though I know what kind of country Russia is.
Yeah, because from this side of the world, this part of the world, as you can see, we're basically dominated by especially U.S. news channel and everyone, but all the big news channels. And for like 2 weeks, President Biden was warning that the invasion that Russia will invade, that Putin will invade. So we were wondering how you guys were experiencing there. That everybody stayed, and all of a sudden, but how was life before? Was it like just any ordinary day that the TV, wasn't there any warnings for you all to prepare or something? How was it?
So to be clear, starting from February 24th, we have the full-scale war, right? Before we had the war in Eastern, we still have it, of course.
Crimea and
yes, Crimea was the next, and we had the war in eastern part of Ukraine. So we kind of lived with that for a lot of years. Although living in the capital, I didn't feel it the same as people who lived in the eastern part of Ukraine, of course. And a lot of them had to move out of their apartments and houses. So I would say that around for a week or a week and a half, we felt so anxious, it was awful because we were all stressed out. But once again, a lot of people just thought or maybe hoped that it's not going to happen. I was working as a tour guide before, so I know people all over the world, and a lot of people, especially Americans, they warned me and they told me take all your things and take your parents and move somewhere, at least to the west of the country. But at that point, it wasn't the war. So you can't just, what should I do, quit my job? I didn't even have the money to move somewhere and to rent an apartment there, and you have to start all over again. So at that point, it seemed to me that we just hoped, that everything will be fine.
If I may ask, usually I don't ask lady their age. What age are you?
I'm 31 years old.
And one of the jobs you have is a tour guide.
But I started guiding people in 2017, but then we had the COVID, the whole world suffered. So I had to, of course we didn't have tourists, so I had to rediscover myself. And basically now I have to do it all over again. So one of my jobs before was a tour guide, and I started to be a manager in that tour guiding company. I also was working half day as an accountant. I was working as a social media manager, and I gave English lessons. Okay. So now I lost all of my jobs except that I can sometimes give English lessons. So I have to start all over again, but of course it's not the biggest problem, you know.
For the people at home to grasp and understand, did you leave alone or with relatives, or did you leave family behind?
So I lived with my parents. I love my parents so much. Don't want to cry. Mm-hmm. And yeah, we lived with my parents and my cat. And the reason why I didn't want also to move, and why it was so hard for me to move, that you know, I didn't want to leave my parents there back at home, and I'm worried about them. Although in Kyiv, thank God, it's pretty much okay right now, but still, you never know. You never know where and what will happen. So yeah, I lived with my parents. I'm single, and I came here on my own because there was like, I didn't own a car, so it wasn't possible for me to take the car to take my parents. That's what I will do 100%.
So for them to understand, you got an opportunity to move out, to leave.
Yes.
But there was
only one place, one seat in the car. And the thing is that on 24th of February, I didn't want to leave, and I said, no, my parents are here, I will stay here. And, you know, we talked with my sister because she didn't live with us, but she lived not far from us. So we had a video call because, you know, when the war started, first of all, you just watch news all the time, and then you try to contact your loved ones and you know, your relatives and so on. And so we talked, and she seemed to be very, you know, calm and so on. And I was like, yeah, okay, I just need to calm down, because the worst thing that you can do is to panic, you know, it won't help you at all. But the next day, since she has a child, 4-year-old child, she decided to move. And then I started to panic even more. But you know, it was like 5 minutes of panic. Yes, I have to move, I have to go somewhere. And 5 minutes of like, I have my parents here and I don't want to go. But my parents, you know, they were very supportive. And even at that time, they thought about me more than about themselves. And they said that you have to go, we'll be fine, you know, you have to live.
Do you still have regular contact with them?
Yeah,
internet in Kyiv is up and running?
Yes,
okay.
Thank God it's pretty much okay. I know that, you know, in some regions it's unbearably awful. I mean, we have Mariupol, I think that a lot of people know about it. We have other cities, things that happen in Bucha, it's just incredible, no words. So, but in Kyiv, thank God it was okay. The only time I know that for some time they didn't have, not all of the stores were open because they just didn't have products. But I should say that our government, they're doing great because, you know, it's so much better than it could be.
Yes. Now, you're in Curacao, your journey started. The car you went with, did you know the people? How was it organized? How did you got in contact with them, and what was your journey basically?
Yeah, so when I finally decided to leave, there were a few options to go by car or to go by the train. But I lived pretty far from the city center. So for me to go to the train, I had to take the bus, and you know, the war started, you don't know if it's safe or not, and it's like an hour and a half on the road or something like this. So I started to call people whether anyone can pick me up, and I didn't find anyone. For some time I found a man who probably could take me somewhere, but he asked for a lot of money, so we started with my mother to, you know, think if I can make it or not. Then he said that he's not going. And then my sister called me and she said that, so the brother of my brother-in-law is going to the west, and they can pick them and take them to one of the small villages on their way. So, and she said that, I asked them if they can make one free place. So that's what happened. So we had 5 adults and 4 children in our car. And it was so, you know, to start with the moment when you say goodbye to your parents, and at that point you don't know, you will see each other again or you won't see each other again. This is awful. I was just trying, you know, to look at them and kind of, you know, to remember this moment forever. And but in the car, of course, you have children, you know, and you try to pretend that everything is okay. You're trying not to cry, or when I wanted to cry, I would just, you know, stare in the window.
Back then tem contexto, me que desculpa um rato com falha técnica com essa timbo, só para reparar. Mij een entrevista per nostra on, nostra live television, boponjava che sei, nostra junto di un studio trovi grato per ser pating Anna Surubey di Ucrania. Anna, our apologies for its live television, so we have some technical difficulties, but we went off air when you was telling that you got a ride with a car and that you arrived at the bomb shelter.
Yeah.
And then you said that only people with children were allowed to enter first, and you were standing outside, and you even see one of the rockets. Did it crash, or you see it pass it by to a neighbor?
No, I saw it was passing by, but still, you know, it seemed to be pretty close. So you just start panicking, and you just get the shock.
So you got it through your sister. There was only one seat in the car.
Yes.
To leave. How did you all manage with water and food, and because you don't know how long you're going to take on the road? How was that organized a bit?
So first of all, I took the food just to go to the bomb shelter nearby my home, and the water as well. But at that point, you still could buy a lot of things, because from our government we got the instruction that we have to stay calm, you know, if it was possible at that moment, but still, we were trying not to panic. So first thing that we did, we went to the store, and people were all, you know, waiting in the queue and just getting some food. So that's what we did. And so we didn't take a lot of food, but still it was enough. Instead of, I think, driving for 2 hours, it took us around 7 hours to get to that.
And that was staying still in Ukraine?
Yes, that was still in Ukraine.
So from there on, where do you move to? Which country, of which countries you pass to finally get to a certain destination, and you finally arrived in Kyiv?
Yeah, so from Kyiv, I went to a small village. It's 150 kilometers away from Kyiv. Then I went to a small city, and I got on the train. And it took me, I had 3 attempts to get on the train, and I just want to share the story of how I was trying to get on the second one, because it was one of the most terrifying experiences in my life. So we were on the perron, you know, waiting for the train. I mean, me and a lot of other people. And so it was dark, because at that point they didn't turn the lights on, not to attract a lot of attention. And so we were just, you know, standing, like we already made an attempt. We didn't make it on the previous train, so we were just standing. And then we heard the air sirens again.
Yes.
But to get to the bomb shelter, it was too far for us, you know, to go there. And it's not the best idea to go there, since we had to cross the bridge. You know, when you have air sirens, you don't want to do that.
No.
And we had to cross the railway station. So we decided to stay where we were. And what we did, we just, you know, laid on a concrete floor. We were just holding hands and praying, cursing, you know, the country that did that to us, Russia. And and then when we were laying, we heard the plane that was right above us. And at that point, of course, you don't know, is it, you know, Ukrainian plane, is it Russian plane, what is going to happen? So it was terrifying. Now I can speak about it calmly, you know, I can even smile a bit, but still it was the most terrifying experience for me. And then from that small city, I went to Lviv, which is in the west of the country, very close to the Polish border. And I was very lucky to catch the next train from Lviv to Poland. And then I was taken care of, because I have someone that I know from the Netherlands, and that person organized some people from his company who took me from the border, and finally I was able to get some sleep, to have some food, and to wash.
How many days, hours did that take from the moment you left home, you arrived in Poland, and that got organized from a person that you know from the Netherlands, from his company? How many days did that really?
So I left on the 25th of February, and I got to the Polish border on the 1st of March.
Wow.
So I spent like 9 hours on that railway station to catch the train. And it was horrible, because there were so many people, and trains were full already because they were coming from Kyiv or some other cities, and they were already full at that point, and we were, a bit further away. And then I got the plane and I went to the Netherlands.
The Netherlands. You stay in the Netherlands how long?
So I arrived on the 2nd of March, and I stayed there until the 7th of April. And on 7th of April, I came here.
So you arrived in Curacao. How come that you arrived in Curacao?
Yeah, this is a very interesting story for a lot of people because I know someone here. So I used to work as a guide, and I have met a person from Curacao who was so nice to invite me here. He wanted to help me, and so I'm staying here in his house. Thank God there were so many people. Some of them I knew, some of them I didn't know, but it's incredible how people are helping. I mean, people in Poland, they were able to organize everything so very fast. Even I saw people who took their dogs, took their cats, and on Polish border, you didn't even have to have documents for these animals.
Okay.
Because they help with it.
Yes.
Even, they wanted to help even to our small friends.
Yeah, I saw it from the news, from the several news outlets, how in Poland they really organized the whole process pretty quick. And very helpful and very welcoming for you all arriving there.
Definitely.
To give you support in order to settle in those very serious circumstances. Now, so you arrived in Curacao now. You've been here since 7th of April.
7th of April, yes. But I have been here before in November.
Yes,
I was on a vacation here, and it was an incredible experience. And I mean, under other circumstances right now, it could be also for me an incredible experience.
Yes.
But unfortunately, it's not that you left your country. Some people think probably that it's so easy. It's not easy at all to make this decision, to leave everything, your whole life, your loved ones there. Everything that I love and everyone that I love, they're there, I left everything behind. So, yeah, but Curacao.
Okay, for us to understand, how is the relationship and your feelings with regards to Russia? So you got the Donbass area that has already been invaded by Russia. You got Crimea. You got Belarus. It has a Russian puppet over there. So how, as you person from Ukraine, you're growing up, your feelings with regards to the whole Russian country, or at least some of the politicians, put it that way?
Of course, it has changed my feeling about that country. I mean, I have never loved Russia in terms. I am really interested in history of Ukraine. I know a lot about USSR, and I know about all these years that Russia, that country was trying to do something with us this whole time. Starting from that, they wanted to steal our history, and actually they managed to do that. And there is not a single generation that wasn't affected by, Ukrainian generation of Ukrainians that wasn't affected by Russians. And I thought that we were the first generation. I was so happy because as I'm really interested in history, I used to, and I'm still reading a lot, and I was like, how come that people have to go through so many things, and now we're going through the war. So before, I think that being a tour guide, I had sometimes people from Russia on my tours, and I think I was raised like this. I didn't want to make them feel uncomfortable on my tours, so I would say something about Soviet times because this is the truth, and I'm only telling the truth. But I would say something, I'm sorry, I didn't want to harm you, and so on. And we were always like that,
Friendly and well-educated, let me put
yes,
that.
after all the things they've done to us, we have so many reasons to hate them. But now, after all the things were discovered, what they did in Bucha, when they, raped children, it's it's a point for me to not go back. Now I can say that I hate all of them, because I don't want to say, maybe you are a good person. No, we have to, and the more I watch all of these videos and pictures of what they're doing to people, the more I want my children and children of my children to remember it, what they did, and so they will never make the same mistake as we did. They will never tolerate them. They will say, "You're from Russia, I'm sorry." You know, nothing personal, but we just don't want to have anything in common with you.
Couple of questions. A question regarding your president. I mean, President Zelensky. We didn't know who he was until this whole invasion by Russia. One thing we know that he was a comedian and he played a Ukraine president in wartime. Question, if I may ask, did you vote for him?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
And finally, I can say it with even more pride, because when we had elections in 2019, we had to choose between a new face, Zelensky, right? And between the former President Poroshenko, we call him the chocolate guy because he owns chocolate factories. Okay. And actually right now in Russia, you can still buy his chocolates.
Really?
Although, you know, a lot of companies went away from Russia and so on, but okay. And actually, I also had the other question when we had these elections to Mr. Poroshenko, to our previous president, because he became wealthier in 95 times. 95 times wealthier.
So his wealth became 95 times more before we sat as president?
Yes. Although it's forbidden to, you know, have business.
Enrich yourself, basically.
And so on. Yeah, so we think that he was getting some money from the war in the eastern part of Ukraine. And that's why he didn't end with it for, you know, during his own...
So he was profiting from war against his own people.
You know, how come that you can get so rich?
Yes.
I don't know. So, and at that point, I decided that I want to vote for someone new because I wanted someone out of the system. We have the same system for already, you know, more than 30 years, and I just voted for a small chance of change. And actually, looking at our president right now, it's incredible. You know, we are so proud of him. We're so proud. And I think if we would have other president, we could be already a part of Russia or something like this.
We'll go to a small break and we'll be back. Nós também break, nós estamos back com Ana sobre de Ucrânia, com também com a sua experiência. Back in den context, nós estamos invitado diretamente da Ucrânia, a senhora Juffrouw Anna Surubey. Anna, I have and I want to salute him, Dirty Lucia, the former president of the Parliament of Netherlands Antilles. He is watching the interview. He extended his moral support and the prayers for you and your family, and also other people living in Ukraine. He wanted me to ask you again, how come that you are currently in Curacao? Maybe you can tell him again.
Yeah, so a friend of mine who lives here, he invited me. He wanted to help me, and I thought it was a great thing to do, so I came here, and it's really nice.
Because you're a tour guide also, and you met them when you were on vacation.
Yes, he came to Kyiv, and I have guided him, and he came for a couple of years.
Yeah.
So.
Of course, you have friends. You have your group of friends. Do you stay in contact? You're now in Curacao. No, let me put it this way. Like the camera friend of my camera colleague, camera guy behind my colleague behind the camera, sorry for that, just asked. So people without any funds are stuck basically in Ukraine now. They won't be able to...
Yes, but I will say that also, I respect these people so much. A lot of people just don't want to leave because they say, this is my land. You know, why should I? And yes, a lot of people just don't have money, although we really have the support of Poland and other countries, and I was in the Netherlands. It's amazing how people support us, you know, in a lot of countries. So, but still, a lot of them don't speak English. So for me, I understand that it's pretty kind of easy to be around people because I can at least, you know, say something, I can understand them. But for a lot of people, they don't speak the language, and they're just, it's very hard. Even for me, I got used to travel. I have been to 25 countries, but, you know, it's the other thing. You know that you leave everything behind. So it was very hard for me, and also it was very hard for me to live alone.
Yes, of course, and leaving your parents behind and traveling alone, because I mean, you traveled with friends of, or from your wife's side is her husband, but still you're moving with people you don't really know, and you're getting in areas where you don't know no one. I mean, it's very brave for you to do that. I was sitting here listening to your story, going to bombshells, going in countries that basically you don't know, you some never have visited, in the war zone, bombshells going all over and what's so not. So it's a brave move for you, and that you're here.
I thought, you know, that I can be more helpful if I will go abroad, and I want to get a job, and I want to help my parents and my relatives, and I can spread information. I'm so happy, you know, when I get a chance to talk with people and to say what is happening from my perspective. And I was told when I was in the Netherlands that, you know, people following the news, but when I came there, they felt that it's so close, that I'm the same human being as they are.
Yes.
You know, and it's crazy.
Now, do you keep in contact with your friends? Do you have
I
friends
do.
also left for other countries, or
Yes.
now staying in other countries? What are the plans for the future?
You know,
I know it's uncertain because the activities and the invasion is still ongoing in Ukraine, but...
yeah, I decided to make one step at a time and not to think a lot about the future. I understand, you know, that I have to build my whole life from the kind of beginning, but I'm trying not to get too deep into it because I can get very upset. Right now, you know, I'm not the same person as I was before the war. I'm still very stressed, you know. Sometimes, you know, I have just to cry to let my emotions go. So at one hand, you know, it's such an interesting time because we have so many opportunities. You can go and work, you know, in so many countries. But on the other hand, you're so stressed and you're nervous and you cry all the time and you just feel sorry for the people. You get all this news, you know. So yeah, I have a lot of friends who left Ukraine, and some of them don't want to go back because, you know, it won't be so easy to find a job actually. So in this
environment over there.
Yes, they're talking more about this. So some of my friends are in Kyiv. Some of them still have jobs, and some of them work for international companies remotely. So actually, that's what people are trying to do right now. They're trying to keep the economy going because, you know, we have already a very big deficit in our economy, and we are afraid for food shortages and so on. We're actually a breadbasket of Europe, so it can also affect, and it will affect.
It's affecting already a little bit.
Yes.
The price of grain and stuff like that.
Yes. Some countries that are so far away from us, but still, so crazy.
Now, if you look at, for us to understand, so the relationship with Russia and you growing up there was never like, you respected them, but would you know their position with their need, or especially President Putin, who's pretty much a KGB living in a old history, and according to him, the old glory of Mother Russia. But for you all, I don't think, and no one in Ukraine wants to go to that time again. That's one. And the other thing I have to say that the Ukrainian people show to the world is the determination you have, the strength you have, and the commitment of protecting your country, and even going against all the might, the military might that Russia may think they have. So that's a great example for the whole of the world to
This is a great example for the world, and this is a great moment for us to again, or finally, understand that we worth something. Because talking about our relationships with Russia, some of you might know that they said that we are brothers. We never thought that we were brothers, by the way, and we hate it. So we were brothers, but they were all the time saying that they were a bigger brother, the most important brother in the family, and so on. And we were, you know, someone less important. But finally, after we had the revolution in 2014, Revolution of Dignity, or Euromaidan, during this war, we see all these people, and we are so proud. We are so proud, finally. We're so proud of our language. A lot of people switched to Ukrainian language before. A lot of people used to speak Russian. And, you know, seeing all these examples, and by the way, when I left the country, I felt so guilty that I'm not there. But I discovered during the war that I panicked so much. I didn't know that I was a person like this, but I panicked so much that for me it was better to go. And I felt that my parents felt better after I left. I saw the relief on their faces. And I thought that for me it is better to go and to help, you know, from the outside.
But your parents are okay? I mean,
yes,
they have all their
thank
things
God
they
fine.
need, and
of course, you know, they're in a very big stress, and we can call each other, and me and my mom will be crying or something, but, you know, for reasons that you understand. But yeah, they're fine. But relationships with Russia, you know, it was always a big issue for me because my parents, they're very patriotic, and I am very patriotic. Although I am here, I'm not in my country, but still, I'm very patriotic. I love my country so much. And just one more time, we never wanted to attack anyone. We just wanted to live our lives, you know. We never wanted to, like Russia changed reasons why they started the war so many times, like that we wanted to attack them, that we had biological laboratories in our country, and this and that. Like, no, this is not true. We just wanted to live our lives, you know.
And the funny thing, the sad and tragic thing is when you learn that the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Russia talking to the UN and with all these lies, and the whole world is like, is this guy delusional? Is this president delusional? Is talking all kind of rubbish and lies with the whole world. They're saying, like, with Nazi invasion, and your president is from Jewish descendants, so that's the most craziest
thing. The leader of a Nazi's army. This is, well, you know, and what is more crazy, what I find even more crazy, that a lot of people believe it. They have it on TV, and some people may say, yes, you know, they have propaganda, what can they do with that? But I read an interesting quote, that propaganda doesn't make you stupid. It was made for stupid people. And like, I don't want to sound like I'm the smartest person in the world, but still, you know, you have internet, right? In Russia, they have internet. You can check information. You can think, you know, maybe there is something wrong if 140 countries support Ukraine and 6 or something like this support Russia. Maybe there is something wrong. The whole world can be crazy, but what they think that, you know, the whole world is against them and they all want to destroy Russia or something like this. And the other thing about Nazis, even if it's true, you know, that we have Nazis or something, even, which is not true, how come that they're so happy to kill just regular civilians, just children and so on? And at the beginning we thought that it was all about Putin, you know, Putin and his generals or whoever. But then we got a lot of recordings like Russian soldiers might call his mother or wife or whatever, and they were so happy, you know. They started looting things from Ukrainian houses, and they were just talking, you know, like it was a regular thing, like it was okay. If anyone will call me and say that, you know, I just killed civilians and I will grab a TV home, I would say, what is wrong with you? Don't call me, you know. But they're so happy about it.
No, it was for us very astonishing that great part of Russia are zombified by this whole Putin propaganda media system, that people really believed it.
You know that 41% of Russians think that they should use the nuclear weapon.
So they don't know what's the consequences of them for themselves.
Yes.
Anna, unfortunately, it's the last few seconds of our interview. Do you have a message for the people of Curacao, or you want to send a message home to?
Yeah, I have a message. First of all, I want to thank all the people for attention, support, and if you can share information about what is really happening in Ukraine, please do that. And, you know, my main message is that you have to appreciate your life, hug your loved ones, and don't be upset about small things, because life is unpredictable. So enjoy life.
Anna, thank you very much. We wish you strength. Prayers are with you, your country, and your family, and hopefully this will come to an end so you can all pick up pieces and
we hope that.
rebuild your country. Thank you for the interview.